Welcome to Adult ypww, Lesson 11. I do not own the rights to this music. Today's lesson text is coming out of 1 Samuel chapter 30, verses 15 through 17. The topic for today's lesson is overtake. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verses 15 through 17. And David said to him, Canst thou bring me down to this company? And he said, Swear unto me by God, that thou wilt neither kill me, nor deliver me into the hands of my master, and I will bring thee down to this company. And when he had brought him down, behold, they were spread abroad upon all the earth, eating and drinking, and dancing, because of all the great spoil that they had taken out of the land of the Philistines, and out of the land of Judah. And David smote them from the twilight even unto the evening of the next day, and there escaped not a man of them, save 400 young men, which rode upon camels and fled. The aim of this lesson is to show how overtaking can be one of the things you do to overcome discouragement. I will read the King James Version first, and then the Amplified Version of Psalms chapter 18, verse 37. I have pursued mine enemies and overtaken them, neither did I turn again till they were consumed. The New International Version. I pursued my enemies and overtook them. I did not turn back till they were destroyed. The introduction says, Galatians chapter 6, verse 1, talks about a man being overtaken in a fault. God does not want you to be overtaken by faults, failures, or any such thing. On the contrary, he wants you to overtake these things. The Apostle Paul deals with this very thing in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 12, where he says, All things are lawful unto me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but I will not be brought under the power of any. What Paul is saying is that he will not be overtaken. He will not be overcome. In Romans chapter 12, verse 21, he admonishes the saints, Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Discouragement is one of those things that does more than just come against you. It can come on you and overwhelm you. It can overtake you. It can overcome you. The discussion says, The Lord never meant for you to be overtaken or overcome by the vicissitudes of life. Yes, things happen. Bad things happen to good people. Discouraging things happen, but you don't have to let discouragement get the best of you. Jesus gives us this encouraging word in John chapter 6, verse 33. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. In the world, you are going to encounter and experience temptations, tests, and trials. But the good news is that Jesus has already overcome these things. This means that with Christ in your life, you can overcome them too. When you were born naturally, you were a born loser because you were born in sin. But when you are born again, you are a born winner. According to 1 John chapter 5, verse 4, whoever is born of God has overcome the world. If you have overcome the world, you can overcome anything. You can overcome discouragement. The application says, when David was facing discouragement, he encouraged himself in the Lord and went to the Lord in prayer. The Lord let him know in no uncertain terms that he would pursue and overtake. David overtook the emotion of discouragement and the cause of his discouragement. He overtook the enemy that took his family. 1 Samuel chapter 30, verse 17 says, And David smote them from the twilight even unto the evening of the next day. And there escaped not a man of them, save 400 young men, which rode upon camels and fled. David pursued his enemies, caught up with them, and fought them. He slaughtered them from the twilight of one day to the evening of the next day. Following David's example, you can do the same thing. Through Christ, you can run through troops. You can overtake the emotion of discouragement and the cause of your discouragement. You can overtake whatever it is that has overtaken you emotionally and literally. The lesson illustration. In the film Taken, former U.S. Central Intelligence Agency officer Brian Mills tracks down his daughter, Kim, who has been kidnapped by an Albanian human trafficking ring while traveling as a tourist in France. After following one lead after another, he finally locates her at an auction in the basement of a private home, but is captured before he can escape with his daughter. After freeing himself, he kills the auctioneer's henchman and then races to recapture his daughter on board a luxury yacht owned by a sheik. After killing the sheik and his guards, he grabs his daughter and returns safely to the U.S. This film illustrates what happened with David in 1 Samuel chapter 30. It also illustrates what David communicates in our memory verse. He testifies that he had pursued his enemies and overtaken them. This means that he had the strength to pursue them, attack them, and rout them. The idea here is one of total triumph and complete victory. 1 John chapter 4 verse 4 says, "Ye are of God little children, and have overcome them. Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world." What can you do when you have the greater one dwelling inside of you? You can do no less. The greater one spells greater success. With the help of the greater one, you can experience even greater success in spiritual warfare. Again, you can overtake whatever threatens to overtake you. The questions for today's lesson, and you can search the scriptures on your own. Question 1. Before question 1, the devil is sorry that he let you get saved and wants you back. You have two choices. You can choose to overtake the enemy or choose to be overtaken by the enemy. Question 1. What is your choice? Question 2. How did Israel avoid being recaptured by Pharaoh after their miraculous release from 400 plus years of captivity? Read Exodus chapter 14, verses 5 through 28. What lessons can we learn from this as it relates to being overtaken by the enemy of our souls? And question 3, do believers today have any authority or power to overtake or take back what the devil has stolen from them? If so, what scriptural basis is there for doing so? The end. God bless you, and thank you for joining me today.